So today was not supposed to be like this. Today was supposed to be the first time in my life I wore jeans to church. Please don't tell my mother I was even thinking of doing that. Because we were going to be busy after worship, getting the church ready for the new windows to come on Monday. I was supposed to be in my jeans, in the pulpit that has my reading glasses and a lifesaver right where I left them. I was not supposed to be standing in front of my ironing board with a paper box on top of it with my iPhone on a jar opener so it wouldn't slip while I talked. Today was not supposed to be like this. Jane was supposed to be down in Virginia comforting her sister because of Ray's passing. Becca and Andrew and Maddie were supposed to be in class or on spring break, but either way, their parents weren't supposed to know where on earth they were. Carol was supposed to be recruiting people to cook bacon for the breakfast buffet, but none of that is happening. None of that is happening. Today was not supposed to be like this. And that's what the Israelites were saying. They had listened to Moses and heard him talking about the power of God, about how God wanted to lead them out of slavery in Egypt into the promised land. And that sounded so good. And God was so powerful. He was so powerful that even Pharaoh and all his gods, couldn't win against the God that Moses followed. The God that Moses spoke with laid a path in the sea and led the Israelites through it and brought that sea crashing down on their oppressors. That's power. And that's what their God had. It's easy to believe in God when you have everything you want, everything you need. It's easy to believe that God is with you every step of the way when you're making plans and they're going smoothly and you're doing your job the way you're supposed to with all the resources you need. When you're not hungry or thirsty. When you are legitimately afraid that nothing is in your control anymore. Well, then you start to wonder, is the Lord among us or not? The Israelites had already gone through some bad times. They had only what they could carry with them. They had run out of food, so God was providing manna. They were walking through a wilderness in a desert land, and they were out of water. That's pretty bad. In their minds, they were thinking back to slavery in Egypt when they were oppressed, but at least they had water to drink. They were really frightened of what came next. So yes, they quarreled with each other and they tested God. That's what Massah and Meribah mean, testing and quarreling. So the Israelites insisted that God produce for them on demand. If God produces, God is among us. If God does not, then we're on our own. God had become a means to an end, something that is there to serve Israel's own sense of self. Israel's focus is not on God, but what God could do for them. Now, yes, we're in the middle of a pandemic, but we're also in the middle of Lent. Lent is the time when we step back from the gifts of the powerful systems that surround us, gifts that come with an enormous price tag. And we return to the commands and the promises of God. God's way in the world is lean and precarious. God leads us to trust in miracles that the powerful had judged impossible. Not the miracle that this virus will suddenly go away, it won't. Not the miracle that people won't die, they will. People we know, people we love. I was on the phone with a church member this week, and he asked if anyone in the church had the virus. I said, as far as I knew, no. That as far as I knew, everyone was sleeping in their own home, safe and sound. but chances are that someone does have the virus. Maybe me, maybe him. We may be thirsty now, but we know it's going to get a whole lot worse in the next few weeks. So what are these miracles that God is leading us to? Well, they are the miracles that we thought were impossible a generation ago. You exposed your kid to German measles when they were little, because that was the best way to ensure that they didn't get the regular measles. Tuberculosis meant you went into a sanatorium even if you were just 11 years old and wanted to stay with your mom. Polio meant you died. Having some other option was a miracle. And there are little miracles today. That a casual mention of a kid loving black beans would mean that 3 cans would show up on the front porch next morning. That the keepers at the zoo would worry about the penguins needing enrichment, so they took them on a tour of the aquarium. That the folks at Walmart and Target and Market Basket would keep coming in day after day after day and restocking the shelves so we wouldn't be so worried. The doctors and nurses would keep showing up, even when they are exhausted and frightened for their own families in ways that the rest of us cannot even imagine. So take a minute to think of where in your life you might see miracles like this in the coming week, because being assured that God is with you is going to make the coming week so much easier to take. I'll give you a minute, but remember, you can even pause the video if you want more time. So yes, today was not supposed to be like this. We were supposed to be together, getting ready for our little church to get a major upgrade and be a safer and warmer place for us to gather and feel God's power and presence. To get ready to celebrate the fact of God's power through the resurrection of Jesus Christ on Easter Sunday. And instead, we are all spread apart. And we are facing a situation which is only going to get scarier. In all likelihood, we will test God. And we're already quarreling with each other because the house is not big enough for 2 Zoom meetings and an episode of Dora the Explorer. Welcome to Massa and Meribah. But if you for one moment wonder, is the Lord among us or not? Just look for the miracles which have been judged impossible. Because they are there, even today, which was not supposed to be like this. God is just that powerful, if only you will allow yourselves to look.